locked into the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship, round 8 and 9 for 2020 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Indianapolis, Indiana. It's MotoAmerica Superbikes at the Brickyard. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Supersport. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time AMA champ Jason Pridmore. Jason, Richie Escalante, after winning yesterday, put himself in a great position. No matter what Sean Dillon Kelly does today, if he wins, all Escalante has to do is finish 6th or better, and he wins his first #1 plate.
Absolutely, and I think for Richie Escalante, he's just got to go do exactly what he's been doing all year. Get a good start, get up front, get away from any riffraff that can happen. Then he has the power to run his own race.
And for Richie Escalante, it's been a near-perfect season. Wins and second-place finishes with 1/3. Jason, he has been spectacular.
I don't think anybody saw the first 2 rounds that Richie Escalante would win all 4 of those races, Greg, but that's exactly what he did. And from there, this Hanos team has just built a championship-winning season with this rider. And he's had one little mishap, as we know. Jarrett Nassini just got into turn 1 a little bit too deep there at the ridge, cleaned Richie out. But right after that, Richie comes back at the next rounds and starts winning again.
So for Richie Escalante, he's put himself in a great position to wrap this up about 1.5 rounds early as we head off in a couple of weeks to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. So with Richie Escalante standing on top of the podium yesterday and taking advantage of SDK's exit, wanted to give you inside the numbers here and take a look. So that 65-point lead, there's 25 for a win. So if you do the math and you add it all up, this is the situation that we're in. Richie Escalante has got to be excited about what's happening today for him and his team. So we had Hannah go down and have a chat with Richie about today.
Greg, Richie Escalante captured yet another victory yesterday, marking his 12th victory of the season, and the championship is closer than ever. Richie, is today going to be the day?
Yes, after yesterday, another victory, my 12th victory, very good year. I'm feeling much better today, more relaxing. I'm asleep better too, so today for sure it's very important to start a little bit better and then go for the victory, you know. I'm feeling like I need to win the championship with 1 victory, so I'm very focused, very concentrated, try to start a little bit better, and then we'll see what happens. It's a very good opportunity today.
If you are able to wrap up the championship today, what would that mean to you?
For sure, very nice, you know. It's like a dream. Always I look the United States races always give you the 1 plate. So for me, it's a very special moment. So we'll see. Right now, the most important is finish the race and then celebrate and enjoy this moment. I'm ready, and we'll see.
Best of luck out there, Richie.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thanks, Hannah. And Richie and the rest of the Supersport riders have to get around Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A nice blend of left and right-hand corners, relatively flat. That long front straightaway, though, that's the thing to look at. Jason, let's take a look at the Cardo Track hotspots because you got some opportunities to pass before you get on that front straightaway.
And you mentioned that very famous front straightaway here at the Brickyard, Greg. When we go down into turn 1, we see bikes 2-3 wide sometimes, and we saw a lot of passing from turns 1 into turn 2, the 2 tightest turns on the track, turn 2 and 3 there on your screen. After they go through a series of S's, they're going to end up down in turn 10 off the back straightaway. Another place we're going to be able to see some outbraking maneuvers. Turn 10 cuts back on itself pretty hard into turn 11, which does the exact same thing. Both very decreasing radius corners. Now, the most important part, getting this run through turns 14 through 16. We saw some action there on the exit of 16 yesterday, but you can see how long that straightaway is, and that will benefit anybody that could be in the draft on their way to the finish line.
That is a good look at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Where are they going to pass? This race should be exciting. Sean Dillon Kelly looking to rebound from his miscue from yesterday and keep his championship hopes alive.
Today's Supersport coverage is sponsored by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And brought to you in part by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance.
Welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Supersport motorcycles on course for their warm-up lap, which means it's time for us to take a look at the starting grid to see how they qualified. It was Sean Dillon Kelly, Jason, a 140.034 to Richie Escalante and Xavier Zayat on the front row. Second row is Mesa, Olmedo, and Nate Minster. On row number 3, we have Jason Aguilar, Lucas Silva, and Benjamin Smith.
Then we got Hayden Schultz, Brandon Posh, and Alejandro Thermiotis rounding out row number 4. Back to row 5, we're going to see Nolan Lampkin, local guy, Carl Sotis, Jarrett Nassani, Patrick Coleman, John Hawkins, and Edgar Zaragoza. Back a little bit further on row 7, Blackall, LaRoche, Briodi, and Chuck Ivey will round out the field.
All right, let's get right down to Hannah. What's up, Hannah?
Guys, yesterday, if you weren't with us, Sean suffered a crash in turn 4, one of the slower corners on this track. When I asked him what happened, he said the team looked at the data. It didn't reveal that anything significant was wrong or that anything major happened. I asked Sean about it. He said he was just pushing so hard. He was riding on the limit, and he just tucked the front. And so he's ready to get out there and give it another shot today.
And that's what happens, Hannah. He's working really hard. He did a great job putting this bike on pole position. And, yesterday, those kind of things happen. When you're pushing as hard as you are, here we go.
Race number 2, Supersport. 16 laps scheduled in this one. All eyes on those red lights when they go off. Here we go. Turn number 1 on the way. Sean Dillon Kelly with a good launch. And it looks like Richie Escalante got a better launch than yesterday. Xavier Zayat trying to sneak up the inside, but he's going to be relegated back to 4th. Escalante holding on to second spot. Oh, look at Xavier Zayat trying to...
Jason Aguilar goes down. That Nate Minster keeps it upright, though, Greg. So I'm not exactly sure what happened with Jason there. It almost looked like he hit somebody at the back of their bike with his head, which is not good. SDK, Escalante out front. Mesa running 3rd right now. We'll get a replay on that in a moment. You're looking a little bit further back in the field there. Escalante dives right up under Sean Dillon Kelly in turn number 6 right off the bat. Even though he's got a championship to win, Greg, I think he's going to put a big emphasis on these first 3 or 4 laps. Get away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, it seems like the pace that Escalante has been able to run all season is where he's most comfortable. Sometimes riders who are at this level, if they slow down too much, that's when they start to make mistakes. Sean Dillon Kelly, M4X Star Suzuki, trying to sneak his way back up to the lead. On the brakes he goes, and he does it.
You know he's going to fire right back. It's what he has to do. SDK at this point is just going to leave it all out there. He's going to try to win this race and then just let the chips fall where they may. Now we've got Mesa and we've got Xavier Zayat, and then we have a gap back there to Brandon Posh, who again has had to come from 11th on the grid, Greg. So he's come back from row 4, has Brandon Posh to get himself up into 5th early. Looks like Lucas Silva is tucked in behind him.
Yeah, Lucas Silva and an M4X Star Suzuki trying to find his way onto the podium again. At the Ridge, he was able to finish 2nd in race number 2. Lucas Silva, our 6th rider in the screen. So as they come across the stripe, that Lucas Oil helicopter shot shows you the position changes on the racetrack. And it looked for a moment that Escalante was going to get drafted and passed by Stefano Mesa. 2 Kawasaki ZX6Rs going after it. But it's still Sean Dillon Kelly leading the way from Richie Escalante, Stefano Mesa, Xavier Zayat. Mesa had the fastest lap from the first lap, a 1:44.9. That'll start to head south. So now all 6 of the top riders all bunched up.
They've all come together there, and I think that, having a guy like Stefano Mesa behind Escalante right now is going to be good for him as he dives back up under SDK again in that turn 6. He likes to just go straight to the front, Greg, and he's just making a beeline from that fast turn 5 right into 6.
So Escalante having enough of the tailpipe on that M4X Star Suzuki. Left part of your screen, Jay, the crash for Aguilar.
And I'm just looking to see. Oh, look, he did hit the back of Brandon Posh with his body. So let's just hope that Jay is okay over there. Didn't really see what actually caused him to go down other than him maybe just pulling the front brake lever on a little bit too much. But just glad to see him conscious and up and walking away from that one.
Yeah, those are hard hits. When you have to imagine when you're higher up than that, virtually straight up and down and hit the deck, that's a much harder hit than if you're at a full lean angle and just hit the ground. So Richie Escalante trying to pull away from Sean Dillon Kelly in the early stages of this race. SDK looking phenomenal right now. Again, into the tuck he goes though, Jay, and this is where we have seen the M4X Star Suzuki shine. It's so fast onto the straightaway here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Look at it go.
He draws right into the back of Escalante as they come down and makes a perfect draft pass as they came across the bricks there. And Sean Dylan Kelly's going to lead him into lap 3. Brandon Posh trying to look up underneath Mesa. How about Stefano Mesa backing up his podium from yesterday, running with the two guys that have really been setting the pace on the year. 41.4 for our leader that time through. They qualified, Greg, at a 40 flat. These two guys out in front hooked up yesterday in qualifying, and they were able to separate themselves by almost 2 seconds. But the first 5 guys in this race are all in the 41s.
Posh. Sorry, Jay, I was looking at Brandon Posh, who's really marched his way right up to this group with a little bit of separation now between Xavier Zayat and Lucas Silva. So Brandon Posh on that Celtic HSBK racing machine has joined the fray, at least in that first couple of corners on this racetrack. Here comes Richie Escalante. No move there. He's going to let Sean Dylan Kelly lead the way, but you can see Escalante, it looked like he had like a little bit more heading into that corner and had to get it slowed down. So this is what we've found with Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Jason, is that sections, those different sectors, riders just have them dialed in and the other rider trying to figure it out. So Escalante in the later part of this section, and we're into the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 section of this racetrack. And I'm interested to see, onto the front straightaway we go, Escalante's drive, or if Sean Dylan Kelly's able to pull away. A couple of Kawasaki's, Mesa in a double draft. He pulls wide, they close up on him over the yard of bricks. No big moves. Is Mesa going to be able to get position around the outside?
Do you remember, Stefano, yesterday how, I'm going to say it was kind of weak at the beginning of that race yesterday into turn 1?
Yep.
Now he isn't. He's learning. Look at Greg. Mesa goes right to the front on the 37. SDK is going to shove it back up underneath him. How about Stefano Mesa goes up underneath Kelly again?
That was close. That was too close for comfort, as Mesa getting a little bit frantic out front, wanting to lead this race and prove his speed. That was a close call, but looks like Richie Escalante is going to try to take advantage of it. No. So Escalante, who's just trying to wrap up a championship, Jason's like, I don't want anything to do with this battle.
It's almost the worst nightmare for him, just to be able to have guys that are hungry to win. He's got Posh right behind him. He's got Mesa, who tasted it yesterday, whose bike actually looks better. And he's actually challenging these guys, the guys that have been really running away with the championship all year. He's up there challenging right now, and he's looking up underneath SDK as they come down into turn 10. He's not going to do anything there. And you can see here on the left side of our screen, Mesa had a notion to go up underneath. Watch his bike go sideways. It goes sideways, and he keeps off of SDK. SDK had to feel him there. It looks like he gave him a little bit of room. Really good bike handling skills by Mesa. He rode around the outside of Escalante and won. Attempted to do the same thing in turn 2 here. Then as they come out of this little short chute, he tried to do it up into that next turn as well.
Mesa looks like he's got pace. As we go back to live pictures, the Mesa 37 Racing Kawasaki ZX6R in the draft of the M4 X-Star Suzuki. So Mesa underneath the bubble. When is he going to try to time it? So there's the move. They're past the yard of bricks, but Sean Dylan Kelly kind of pinched off the outside there. Where's Mesa going to go now? He's trying to get position to turn number 2, this really tight right-hander. Is he going around the outside? Certainly not.
He's trying again, though, and I think that he's just feeling it today in those first couple of turns. Turn 1, again, is a place where he has improved a tremendous amount. Brandon Posh with the fastest lap of the race there. Your 4th-place rider who gets a big shake as he exits turn 4 and loses a ton of time. He runs a 41.3 that last time by. Leaders in front of him were about 3/10, 4/10 off of that. But that little gap that you can see now back to him, he's out of our screen for a moment, Greg. He got into a big tank slapper on the exit of turn 4.
One of the greatest things about Indianapolis Motor Speedway is the width of this infield road course. This racetrack allows riders to take completely different lines and get away with it. It's Sean Dylan Kelly, M4 X-Star Suzuki, leading from Stefano Mesa, number 37. His first go at Supersport this season on a bike he had, I want to say, kind of hanging around, kind of laying around, did a couple club races with it, decided to bring it here to Indianapolis Motor Speedway and give it a go. And so far, so good for Stefano Mesa. Right behind him, Richie Escalante has been the standout this season, just trying to close out this championship. But Sean Dylan Kelly doing everything he can to keep it alive.
Well, the greatest part about Stefano Mesa doing what he's doing right now is any of these guys that club race against him, that run with him, you can see what you're capable of when you look at what this young guy has done. this weekend here at Indianapolis, doing a tremendous job. So if you're out there racing against Stefano Mesa, just have a look right now. This guy's battling with the America's best right now. The two guys that have, like I said, dominated this championship. Escalante now having to look underneath. Mesa doing the same thing as they come up underneath. SDK closes the door on him in turn 1.
Just wondering what Richie Escalante is thinking about right now. The risk-reward factor that's involved in this one, trying to wrap up that #1 plate versus trying to win this race.
He's actually in a great position because he's got somebody else battling SDK. As long as he can see that on his board saying +1, +2. And look, Mesa looked over his shoulder almost as if to let Escalante go through. It was almost like Mesa pulled over to let Escalante get through on him there because I didn't see anything that really made me look like Mesa got out of shape out of turn 4 or anything. But I was going to say, Escalante's in a great spot. He's got somebody kind of hammering on SDK a little bit. He's pulling away from that 4th place battle. Posh has just put in the fastest first split of the race, so he's trying to grind his way back in there. And let's not forget, Lucas Silva's right there, and Xavier Zayat is right there also. I almost forgot about those guys.
Yeah, this group hasn't completely checked out on those guys. As Lucas Silva, again, we've seen him yesterday. He just puts in a couple of really strong laps, is able to close the gap. He's very consistent. So it's a matter of who's going to be fighting up front and how much they're going to rough each other up. As Lucas Silva, Jason, he has really shown some good speed this year. We're waiting for him to make that one little next step that sees him consistently in this top 3.
Well, look, listen, he's continuously getting better. I talked to Josh Hayes last night, who's been helping Lucas, and he's been saying, Jay, he's kind of chipping away at it. He's doing a nice job. Right now, he's in the 41s with the rest of them. You can see that gap from 3rd to 4th is just opened up. SDK and Escalante battling at the front here. Escalante is going to try to lead him into turn 1. And look at Mesa. He's going to follow Escalante through, so now he is going to be the guy in front of SDK and right behind Escalante as they roll down into turns 2, 3, 4.
And just like that, it changes. When we came across the yard of bricks, Escalante was leading the way. That's a dress rehearsal. If things come down to the final lap where it needs to be a draft and pass maneuver, Escalante knows that he has it underneath him to be able to pull it off. But it's time for Escalante in his mind to pull the pin and try to break the will of Stefano Mesa and Sean Dylan Kelly.
Just a little bit wide there with Escalante. These guys are going to close in. He just started to open up a gap, but he got into that turn that we've seen him do so well going up underneath people, got in there a little bit wide, Greg, was able to get the bike turned, but that gap that he had shrunk back down.
So they're together again, coming through the mid part of this racetrack. The run from 9 to 10. They're into 10. A complicated corner for a lot of people. It closes up a lot faster than it looks. No big deal for Richie Escalante. 12 wins so far this season for the 25-year-old from Tizayuca, Mexico. Coming to the United States, racing here for a couple of years. Took a season off just a couple of seasons ago to reevaluate his life. And when he came back for 2020 in MotoAmerica Supersport with the Honos Kawasaki team, no one expected the success that Richie Escalante and his team has had so far this season. The absolute standout. A lot of people talking about what's next for Richie Escalante. How many people would love to see him on a Honos Super Bike next season? A lot of that chatter. But how about this young stallion in the M4 X-Star Suzuki pen, Sean Dylan Kelly? Jay, I think oftentimes we keep having to remind ourselves that it's only his sophomore season. Jason, Richie Escalante just ripped off a 140.9, the fastest lap of the race so far.
Yeah, and you know, when you talk about SDK, we forget how young he is because of how much not only experience he has, but how polished he is even when he talks. So I mean, the thing is, the guy's going to keep working, he's going to keep grinding, he's always trying no matter what. One of the things he always says in his interviews, he's always going to be putting in that 100% effort, and he always does that. Now, the first two guys here, let's see if they can get away from Stefano at all. They've broke that gap. There's 1.4 seconds between Mesa and Posh that time when they came across. It's going to be really important now for Stefano to just try to keep his head going forward and looking at these two guys in front of him so he can try to keep a hold of that podium spot for himself. He's done such a good job. But now SDK has gone green and red in our first two sectors. Red obviously meaning that is the fastest second sector of the race. He's trying hard not to let what we've seen happen most of the year. When Escalante gets this lead and he can run his own lines and he can run his own pace, he starts to gap these boys.
talking to Sean Dylan Kelly, I asked if he was going to make any changes for today after yesterday's crash. He said they're looking for more connection with the front for mid-corner. And I asked him, you know, are you looking to make up points? Do you feel more pressure after this crash? And he said he sees this the same as any other race, any other day. But yesterday's crash did teach him to have a little bit more patience. If you've been watching Sean this season, you know he's going to fight right to the finish.
And the fight doesn't give up, Hannah. He just pulled a 140.9, but Richie Escalante able to go 140.7 and lower this lap record in this race, Jason, and that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, and let's not keep in mind, these guys, they went low 40s, 40 flat yesterday, Sean Dylan Kelly did. And he did that probably on his 4th lap or so of chasing Escalante around as Mesa gets a little bit out of shape there coming out of turn 4. 41.1 also that time from Mesa. So he's really upped his pace even from yesterday. So the changes that they made on the 37 overnight is important as well. But this is what Escalante does so well. He starts to grind out these lap times where he can, you know, this will be kind of the new area that they'll try to be now. He'll be trying to run high 40s now for the next 3-4 laps. Be keeping an eye on what his pit board says every time he comes through there to see if he's stretching this field out at all.
These middleweight sport bikes going after it as Richie Escalante trying to maintain a half a second lead over Sean Dylan Kelly, while Sean Dylan Kelly is just trying to figure out where can he make up some time. That last time by, the last lap they were on, Jason, our sector times were lighting up with reds and greens, meaning reds are fastest sector times of the race, greens meaning fastest personal splits, but Escalante continuing to set the pace now, lowering that lap time. And Jay, incredible speeds they're able to get these Supersport machines. Same motorcycles you can buy right off the showroom floor in your dealership. A Kawasaki ZX6R leads a GSXR 600 made by Suzuki. And when Richie Escalante comes across the line this time, he's going to be credited with a 142.2. So Sean Dylan Kelly goes 140.9. You can see physically how SDK is closed up to within 0.2 of a second.
That's got to give SDK a little bit of encouragement, though, because Escalante's led a lap now on his own, and SDK actually caught back up to Escalante on that lap. He went from a 40.7 to a 41.2, some half a second off for Escalante from lap to lap. So SDK is going to notice that, going to see that he didn't really get pulled away from there at all. And the thing that I noticed is he was really strong through that last, like, let's say 5-6 turns here at Indy. You can see SDK cutting that distance down again, a little bit tighter line, kind of what we saw Escalante running earlier in the race.
Yeah, and for Stefano Mesa, he's had a couple warnings from the rear tire. They spun up. We saw him get out of shape. So for Stefano Mesa, I think at this point, he's got to calm down a little bit in terms of his throttle. Now, Mesa just went through sector number 1, his personal best split. So he's not giving up at all.
Which means he's not listening to you.
Well, no, he's not listening to me, but obviously there are warning signs,
yes,
and that's why we're seeing the gap.
But you know what? This guy rides so much and races so much. He knows where that edge is, does Stefano Mesa. A lot of respect for this guy as far as his riding abilities go. We've seen him in and out of the series for a number of years. Last couple of years, mostly in our 1,000 Superstock class. We've seen him win races. So, I mean, this guy knows where the edge is. He does this all of the time, and I think he's showing himself really well ahead of these, right behind these two guys in front of him.
Stefano Mesa didn't have big expectations for how he would perform in these 2 races in this class this weekend. These performances are obviously a huge deal for him. He must be so proud of himself, especially considering this is his last race weekend of the season. So what a great way to end his year. Heading into this off season, his father Mauricio needs a kidney transplant, and Stefano will be the donor. So not only is he a huge talent on the track, but that just speaks so much to his character off the track as well.
Absolutely, Hannah. Like I said yesterday, is such a fun guy to talk to, always smiling, very lighthearted, as is mom and dad. And obviously we wish his father absolutely the best once we get into the offseason. Looking at these times now, Richie Escalante puts his head down, fastest first split of the race, a 24.4. It's only a 10th there between the two of these guys in that first sector, but Escalante might be trying to rip off another fast one here. He went 41 flat, and for the 3rd lap in a row, Sean Dylan Kelly was the only guy in those high 40s that time, Greg.
Yeah, just looking at it, seems like Escalante, who goes a little bit wide. Mesa, you can see back there as well, using every bit of racetrack. Yeah, he was way wide on those curbings and had to look back, too, saying, uh-oh, anybody around me in this one? But in terms of Richie Escalante and Sean Dillon Kelly, it just seems like a wave. It seems like Escalante puts down a fast one, SDK answers the next lap, and so Richie's going to do it again. I haven't seen Richie turn around, though. He's not a rider that we see often who's going to look behind him. He's going to listen for his competitor, and he's going to use the information he gets on his pit board when he comes across start-finish line.
Well, there's nothing better than winning a championship and winning their last race in order to do it. And I think that Escalante was freed up enough in our points that he could go out there and run his own race and do his own thing. SDK is doing exactly what he's done all year, keeping him honest. But Richie Escalante is really riding free right now. Let's see what he does this lap. 40.8 to another 40.9. I think that's SDK's fourth 40.9 in a row. So he is just continually trying to push Escalante. And it really is the last couple sectors. 18, now he gained a 10th back in that last sector, but it definitely looks like he closes up a lot more there.
What's also interesting is looking at Richie Escalante's speed times as we see them provided by MotoAmerica, a 154 to Sean Dillon Kelly's 158. So we know if SDK can be right on the rear wheel of Richie Escalante, he could be vulnerable on a dash to the checkered flag on the last lap of the race. Two things at stake here. Obviously the race win, but also for Richie Escalante, it's all about wrapping up this points championship. There's only, after this race, Jason, only 50 points available to get. So if he can have 50 points or more when this race is over, the number one plate goes to Escalante.
He's going to have a go, Greg. It looks like he's just ready to try to get back up underneath Escalante. You could see him lining that up to the S's. He's in a little bit deep. Escalante's going to try to turn it up underneath him. Let's see if SDK can. Nope, couldn't quite get there, but that's what SDK's got to do. That run through 6 through 9 that time, his bike looked so good and tidy. He gained a couple bike lengths on Escalante in that section, which allowed him to roll up along the outside as they exited turn 9 down to turn 10. So SDK is still piling on the pressure here. Fastest second split of the race for SDK that time through.
When SDK got on the brakes to make that initial pass a few corners ago, you could see that he was in a dirty part of the racetrack, Jason. When he got on the brakes, rear wheel went in the air, and you could see those marbles, those tire marbles start to fan out. So here we go on the front straightaway, SDK in the draft. No dress rehearsal for him right now. Man, that is a tough pass because we know that Escalante likes to go right down to the curbing and not give anyone any room to sneak up underneath him.
Yeah, and you can see that whole way down. That's why the difference in mile an hour are what they are, though, Greg, because SDK is able to draft Escalante right now down that straightaway and get up to the back of him. That time he didn't quite get out of the last corner as good as I've seen him get out of there in a couple other laps. So he was a little bit further back, but he was sniffing that draft all the way down the straight. Now watch through here. You can see the gap Escalante has coming into there. Watch as they exit here. Sean Dillon Kelly will be up the back of that Kawasaki. They go through this right, this next left, and then the next right. I mean, all through here, he just draws up on the back all the way through. Last time he was a little bit closer, and that's what allowed him to draft down this straightaway and try to duck up underneath. You can see they're coming up right now onto the back of Scott Briotti, going down into turn 10 with about 3.5 laps to go.
Yeah, it seems to me that the way the Suzuki GSX-R is set up right now in that M4 X-Star Suzuki, that it finishes the corners a little bit better for the way Sean Dillon Kelly likes to ride this motorcycle. Lap traffic getting out of the way. Sean Dillon Kelly just trying to keep the distance he needs. You don't have to be right on the back of Richie Escalante and risk it all with about 3.25 laps to go. You just got to keep him right in sights and then start to make him move. Jason, I mean, why would Sean Dillon Kelly want to start making a move right now? Why not just wait until the last lap and put that in Richie Escalante's head?
Well, I think that what he wants to do, he wants to get up there. I don't like using the term roughing them up as much, but that's kind of what he wants to do. SDK wants to get up there and battle for this win. He wants to make Escalante earn every part of this championship today. And, you know, there's probably a lot of things going through SDK's head in the sense that, you know, I feel like he kind of came into it as my favorite for the season. The performance and stuff of Escalante and this team, I think, took a lot of people by surprise. Ooh. There's a little mistake there from SDK in between turns 3 and 4, and you can see there's a little bit of a gap now. But SDK, he's shown me that he can really do fast splits to get back up on the back. That said, fastest first split of the race for the 54, a 24.2. I think into that point, he was in there around a 24.3. You can look over on the right-hand side of the screen now and see the consistency that these guys are running. Only a couple of laps for Escalante there on lap 7, 8, and 11 in the 40s. SDK's probably done more laps in those high 40s than has Escalante, but it's the consistency and just the pounding of the laps out.
What's really interesting is that Richie Escalante set the fastest split in the first sector after Sean Dillon Kelly made that mistake. If SDK has anything in reserve, he's going to have to break it out right now, because that mistake he made early in this lap has caused this gap to increase to the point where he's not going to be able to get into the draft of Richie Escalante. We're keeping an eye on sector times to see if there's anything that is spectacular. And Jay, in sector 3, Sean Dillon Kelly set his personal best time, but it's really hardly any difference.
He's not done. SDK is not done here. He's going to make a big charge here. He's not that far back, but that gap that you see was just from what happened in between turn 3 and 4. Not sure if he caught a false neutral or something in there. Kind of looked like it to me. He just wasn't able to get the bike turned. It looked like he waited an extra second to get that bike into the gear it needs to go in. And this is where it had happened before, but he'll close up. You watch. We're going to start to see some fast sectors. That time through, 40.8 for Escalante, 41.2 for Sean Dillon Kelly. This time he gets through there clean. And now we're going to come into a part of the track where SDK has been really good. These next little fast sections, they're going to go ripping through here, turn 5. And then they got 6, 7, 8, 9. But that gap again is just opened up another 10th in that first sector.
Yeah, I think maybe that mistake 2 laps ago by the M4 X-Star Suzuki rider Sean Dillon Kelly might have been a sign of where things are underneath him as well. Maybe a little bit of slippage. I mean, the pace that they're able to run this deep into this race, 14 laps already on these Dunlop tires at this incredible speed in the 140s, 141s low, and they're still able to maintain it, just shows you how good these tires are developed.
Yeah, and again, it's just a matter of when you lose that little bit of toe down the straightaway here too, it can make your job a lot harder. You got to work your tires an awful lot more when you don't have that draft and all these little spots here. Escalante is just going to be able to open up his lines and do what he kind of wants to do through here. And it's basically catch me if you can type of thing right now for Escalante back to SDK. And you can see it's not like this lap has been anything. They're about the same again as it was last lap. It's just kind of holding true. This is going to be another high 40, low 41 for your 2 leaders as they come down the front straightaway right now. They're going to be getting the white flag last lap as they go through now.
Final lap, 140.9 for Richie Escalante, a 141.1 for Sean Dillon Kelly. So Escalante gets another 0.2 of a second away from the Floridian Kelly. What's he going to be able to do on this last lap? It's not like Richie Escalante has always run a mistake-free race. We've seen him make mistakes in the past, and with this constant pressure from SDK and a championship looming over his head, can he keep it clean?
That said, though, we've seen him mature so much as a rider. I mean, at the beginning of the year, this guy at MotoAmerica was making a mistake once every couple 2 or 3 laps and allowing the race to be dictated by somebody else instead of him doing it. As the year has worn on, he has matured, has the 54, Greg, and he's really been able to run his own pace, his own race, just doing his own thing. And we've seen a lot less mistakes in the last 6 rounds or so from him.
It's just like he's settled into the fact that he is as fast as he is, and he's the championship contender to get the #1 plate. Richie Escalante, Jason, you've been in this position before in your racing career. What is going through his mind right now, a couple corners away from grabbing his first #1 plate?
Well, he's just doing everything he needs to do, and he's going to be coming onto this front straightaway looking for his team on the left-hand side, and there's probably going to be a lot of emotions going through his mind. Last 3-4 years, we've seen this rider be a 3rd to 6th, 7th, 8th place rider, and this year is really taking it by storm as he comes out onto the final time, out of the final turn.
The pride of Tizayuca, Mexico, Richie Escalante, will come to the start-finish line and take the checkered flag, the win, and the national championship. What a ride by Richie Escalante. It wasn't handed to him. He had to work for it. And the best way possible to grab your #1 plate is standing on top of the podium after a tremendous race win.
Stefano Mesa ends up 3rd on the podium for the 2nd day in a row. Brandon Posh, Xavier Zayat are going to round out your top 5 with Lucas Silva coming across the line in 6th. How about these 2 guys? A lot of respect between these 2 guys for the year. Really nice to see that. And Stefano did such a good job. Man, I want to see Stefano on a 600, I think, for a full year.
Full time.
Yeah.
Full time.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
if he can have a focused program in Supersport, and build it around him and get more knowledge base, because you mentioned it yesterday with Stefano Mesa. He's had the bike at club races, but normally those are 6 to 8 lap races. So there is a learning curve when you're having to race 16 laps.
No, absolutely, and really it'd be super neat, and I think Stefano's more than deserving of getting a ride where he might be able to just come to the track and be a rider and a racer rather than, you know, changing his own wheels and doing some of that. There is a good story behind all that, but again, to be able to see the 37, be able to come to the track and relax and just be a racer would be a nice thing. And
you definitely have to tip your cap to Sean Dillon Kelly, Jason. You know, before we knew what Richie Escalante was able to accomplish this season, in the offseason we talked a lot about Sean Dillon Kelly being the rider who we thought was a shoo-in to win this championship. He had a lot of pressure on him. He rides for a tremendous team. It was his sophomore season. The riders that were in front of him last year are gone, and Sean Dillon Kelly has handled the pressure and the ups and downs of the season, I think, with class.
Oh, he's done a great job, and he'll look back on this year. He actually overrode that motorcycle a lot, and he's got some wins under his belt. We still got a couple rounds left at Laguna too, so that he can still pile on some more victories. But the thing about SDK is he might look back on this year as a season and think, you know, I learned a lot that year, and I learned how to get a bike and ride it a little bit over its limits, and it'll be really good for him as he matures and gets older and steps onto the bigger bikes.
There's the story right there on your screen. 2020 #1, Richie Escalante, your national champion on the Honos team. That Kawasaki ZX6R has made some headlines, and Richie Escalante was so serious about it, he was able to set his second sector split as his fastest on the last lap. He'll grab the flag of Mexico, and he'll take his victory lap with a new custom helmet. Cannot wait to hear what Richie Escalante has to say about this race and his first MotoAmerica National Championship. We'll find out when we return to Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Today's Supersport race coverage has been sponsored by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Richie Escalante, his 13th win of the season, proving to be his lucky number today as he wraps up his national championship. Let's take a look at those results, Jason. So for Escalante, not only the win, but his 15th podium appearance in 16 races. Sean Dillon Kelly just 1.1 behind. Stefano Mesa, he ended up, with those warning signs, and he was able to hold on to third ahead of Brandon Posh. And a great result by Xavier Zayat. He's one to look for. Comes back next season on a Supersport machine.
He's put a solid year together. Then we have Silva, Olmedo, Smith, and Nate Minster did a really nice job at getting himself back up in the 9th after I think got shoved off the track. There's our new champion with his brand new gold helmet, Greg, and they already slapped the #1 on that number 54.
Yeah, why wouldn't they, Jay? So now you're sitting there in your Richie Escalante. You get to go into the final round of the season with your #1 plate on your mantelpiece. We talk about it often, Jason. Is there any difference when we get to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca in terms of all bets are off, you don't have to worry about a championship, do things get faster, or is that just a talking point from the media?
You just go in there very free. You know, like you've already done the big job that you needed to do, which is try to win that championship. And so that's, going to be something that he doesn't have to go into the last round and think about, because it brings a whole nother level of pressure in when you're going into the final round and trying to win a championship.
Yeah, you can see the sportsmanship again from Sean Dillon Kelly and Richie Escalante about a season well raced. So, Jason, looking at these results over the course of the year, you have Sean Dillon Kelly who gets 3 wins, Richie Escalante his 13th win, and wow, just well-deserved as he gets to stand on top of the podium with that #1 shirt on, as well as that new gold Shoei. So that means it's time for us to have a little chit-chat with Richie Escalante. Take it away, Hannah.
Lucky number, win 13. Victory of the season for Richie Escalante, his first ever MotoAmerica Championship title. Richie, how much does this mean to you?
Oh man, it's amazing. I'm really happy. I'm working so hard this year to make this possible. First, I'm going to start to say thanks to my team Honos, on the Grace Kawasaki, all the sponsors of my crew, especially my crew chief, Chris Lessing, my mechanic, Derek, Jorge, Patrick, Jason, Tyrone, my data guy, Jason, all my family, especially my fathers, my brother, my girlfriend, everybody to support me, all the fans for MotoAmerica. I'm really happy today. So hard race. I push in every lap. Sean too pushed me every lap to try to improve. So I'm really happy for this weekend, for this year. It's an honor, to race with these guys, with Sean, Brandon, all the grid. At this time, Stefano is a very good riders, very talented young riders. So it's a pleasure to race with these guys. And yeah, keep working. One more race in Laguna. I love this track, so keep pushing to try to finish the year on the top. Thank you.
Congratulations, your championship winner, Richie Escalante.
I mean, what a couple of years it's been. He took 2017 off from racing to think about his life and what direction he wanted to go in. He could have made the decision to just turn around and walk away from racing, but he stuck with it, and what a reward he gets.
Yeah, and you saw the emotion there, and there was a different emotion at the Ridge. So for him to be able to get this win today and win the championship, really good for Richie.
Look at the Pagoda building where we are as we zoom in on Victory Lane. Let's get right down to Hannah.
Second place today goes to Sean Dillon Kelly. Sean, you put pressure on Richie for the entirety of that race. You rode your heart out. Tell us how that race was for you.
Absolutely what you said, right? I rode my heart out, and that's honestly what I've been doing all season long. So that's all I could ask for. My team and I gave our 100% from the first time out, and honestly, it's been a tough season, right? We've been fighting our absolute best, and some weekends it just hasn't been enough. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't say we lost the championship. We just we have a different winner than us. So we still have 2 races to go, and we're gonna do our best to go up there and win. So nothing, just huge congratulations to Richie. He rode really good all weekend or all season long, and today I really tried my best. It was really tough to keep up, and honestly, it was hard to make passes, but we tried our best, gave our 100%, and we're gonna keep on doing the same thing. So at the end of the day, as much as it hurts to win a championship, because that was the objective, I know this year we gave our absolute 100%. I've been working hard, really hard, and at the end of the day, that's all we can ask for. I know this made me a better rider and a better person, so we're going to keep on fighting like this for all the time that comes.
Thanks, Sean. Congratulations.
Oh, one more thing. Thank you, Fresh and Lean. Thank you, Fresh and Lean. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you to my whole team, M4XR Suzuki, and thank you
for Sean Dillon Kelly. Jay, reminder, he's only 18 years old. He's got a lot of racing ahead of him.
Tons of racing ahead of him, and when he starts looking at wherever his path goes, his career path goes, he's going to be successful anywhere. And you heard him say that this year's made him a better rider, and there is something to be said for that.
Let's go down to Hannah with our 3rd place finisher.
Another 3rd place finish this weekend for Stefano Mesa. Stefano, what does it mean to you to finish the season so strong heading into this off season before you undergo this life-changing surgery for your father?
Man, it feels so good just doing this good result, bringing it back to my team, my mom and my dad. All the family works so hard. Eric, Mike, both Mikes that work with me. I mean, we put so much effort into the team, and we're just a little team trying to do as best as we can, and I guess we're doing a good job at it, so I'm extremely happy, and I mean, we're just going to keep pushing forward and see where we can go.
How much does it mean to you to be able to do this for your father and get this success?
It for sure means a lot. My dad's been everything to me my whole life, and he still is. So I'll pretty much give anything I have to have him by my side. And if that's what it takes to have him 10, 20 years with me, that's what it takes. So we're just going to go into it and see what happens. It should be smooth and good. So keep prayers for us, and we'll be good. We'll be back
and here's
stronger.
To a quick recovery for you both. We'll see you next season, hopefully. Stefano, congratulations.
Thank you.
What a great story. Absolutely spectacular. And yeah, he's got to hold his head up high coming to this racetrack with this new 600 and getting the results he was able to get this weekend. So Sean Dillon Kelly put up quite a fight, but in the end, Richie Escalante was able to win the race and take the #1 plate. More coming at you from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. When we come back, we're going to talk about this guy, your new national champion. So Richie Escalante gets to take his national flag around Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What a place to come to win your first national championship. Can you imagine?
That'd be so cool. I mean, especially since Indy is known all around the world. So everybody's seen the Indy 500. Everybody's seen the history that this place has. For him to wrap it up here is even more special.
So there's only 50 points remaining to get in this championship with 2 races at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, October 23rd through the 25th. So there's your points gap, as we can see that there is a little bit of a battle going on for 4th place between Lucas Silva and Jason Aguilar. Hope Jason Aguilar's okay after an early exit in this race, a turn kind of between 1 and 2 incident. But Richie Escalante able to gather so many points, 361 on the season. And kind of shows you where the benchmark is for sure. So Jay, what do you think? Walking away from this race, now heading off into WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in a couple of weeks.
It's going to be a great race up there at Laguna. Hopefully the weather's going to be good, and these guys are going to go in there ready to rumble.
Some fans allowed here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As for Sean Dillon Kelly, a tip of the cap for an outstanding season, and he's still got a couple races he wants to win. It was an exciting race. Supersport race number 2. Thanks so much for joining us. For Hannah Lopa and Jason Pridmore, I'm Greg White. We'll see you in a couple of weeks from California.